On this day in Tudor history, the 18th of September 1535, a little boy was born at Chartley in Staffordshire, whose life would be bright, brief, and heartbreakingly cut short. I'm historian and author Claire Ridgway, and let me introduce you to Henry Brandon, 2nd Duke of Suffolk, the eldest son of Charles Brandon, Duke of Suffolk, Henry VIII's great friend, and Catherine Willoughby, the spirited heiress who became one of the most interesting women of the age. Henry Brandon's childhood was privileged and promising. When his father died in August 1545, wardship of the young Duke fell to his mother, Catherine, a fiercely capable woman. Henry was sent to court to be educated alongside the King's son, Prince Edward. Imagine that classroom. Richard Cox keeping order, John Cheek drilling impeccable classical prose, and Roger Ascham, yes, Elizabeth I's future tutor, sharpening young minds. Little Henry soaked it up. Ceremony and spectacle marked his early teens. At Edward VI's coronation in 1547, Henry and his younger brother Charles were knighted, and Henry carried the orb, no small honour for a boy. Court life clearly delighted him. Historian S.J. Gunn notes that Henry was active at Edward's court, revelling with the king in March 1547, running at the ring in May 1550, and even dressing up as a nun for a masque that June. Very Tudor and very playful. He had brains as well as energy. In 1549, he began his studies at St John's College, Cambridge, just as humanist learning was flourishing there. Politics touched him too. In 1550, under the Treaty of Boulogne, the young Duke was sent briefly to France as a kind of hostage, a routine if unnerving diplomatic guarantee. And marriage talk swirled, as it always did around well-born teenagers. A match with Anne Seymour, daughter of Edward Seymour, Duke of Somerset, was floated in 1550. But Catherine Willoughby wasn't keen, and it came to nothing. And then, disaster. In the summer of 1551, the dreaded sweating sickness struck Cambridge. Catherine hurriedly removed Henry and his brother to Buckden in Huntingdonshire, to the Bishop of Lincoln's residence, hoping that distance would save them both. It didn't. Both boys came down with the sweat. On the 14th of July 1551, Henry died, and his brother Charles followed him only half an hour later. They were buried together quietly at Buckden. A month later, on the 22nd of September, a formal requiem, a month's mind, was held with all the solemn heraldry due to their rank. The antiquary John Strype describes 2 standards, 2 banners, 10 bannerols, 2 helmets, 2 swords, 2 targets crowned, and 10 dozen of escutcheons. A great ceremony, and lamentation that so noble a stock was extinct in them. It wasn't just grief, it was the end of a line. For that brief half hour, Henry's brother Charles had been 3rd Duke of Suffolk. With his death, the Brandon male line's dukedom died too. Edward VI would later create Henry Grey, husband of Frances Brandon, the boy's half-sister, the new Duke of Suffolk, in 1551. Their tutors mourned them. Stephen Gunn notes how scholars praised the boys' piety, virtues and learning. Thomas Wilson, who'd taught them, chose Henry and Charles as the subjects of an exemplary oration in his The Art of Rhetoric, 1553. Even allowing for Tudor courtesy, these were young men of real promise. Their loss was keenly felt. An aside on the disease that took them. The sweat was a terrifying Tudor killer. Sudden onset, violent fever, profuse sweating, and death that could come in hours. It flared in epidemics, struck the young and strong, and cruelly offered families little time to say goodbye. Catherine Willoughby, who would later flee Marian, England for her Protestant faith, would never have forgotten that summer. So that's Henry Brandon, who was born on this day in 1535. Imagine him now as a bright, energetic teenager, laughing with his king, running at the ring, studying at Cambridge, and playing his part in pageants, before a merciless illness took him at 15. If this poignant story moved you, please give the video a like and subscribe for more daily Tudor history. I'm going to be talking about the boy's mother, Catherine Willoughby, tomorrow, and I've covered Charles Brandon, their father, in other videos, so do check those out and tell me in the comments which Tudor might have been haunts you the most.